Hi, it's Henna. Today I'm talking about Gilded by Bougie. The perfumers behind this, or the duo behind this perfume, is Nick Gilbert and Pia Long, and they originally started a company called Bougie to launch a set of scented candles, and the scents of the candles were so popular and so well received, and people kept asking for them to make fragrance that smelled like these scented candles. So they did. So you can see the bottle says "Eau de Bougie," and that is their perfume line that's based on the candles. So I decided to do this review. I've had this bottle for a little bit. I decided to do this review because I was just on YouTube and I saw their YouTube channel where they review perfume from many years ago. It was kind of recommended to me as like when I logged in, and the review that I clicked on was a review of Lune Feline by Atelier des Ors, and I clicked on it because I just smelled Lune Feline for the first time ever, so I was interested to see what they said about it. They loved it, and it is like a really well-received fragrance. Not for me because it has like lactonic notes in it, and I don't really like lactonic notes. So I watched that review and I decided to talk about their perfume that I've had. I was lucky enough to meet them when I went to Aix in Milan earlier this year. I can't believe that was just this year because I feel like it happened so long ago. And I keep referring to things that happened there, or people that I met there, or perfumes that I encountered there, because there was just like a lot of perfume smelling that happened in such a short amount of time that I do still have tons of things and stories and anecdotes that I haven't even talked about yet. So that's why it keeps coming up, is because there was just so much that happened there. Nick and Pia are really gifted storytellers, I will say that. And when you're at Aix, you're smelling so much perfume. You meet so many people, so many perfumers, so many brand representatives, and you really want someone to be passionate, enthusiastic about their scents. And I say that because that's not something that always happens. I mean, it's understandable. People are talking to so many new people. It's really easy to get tired and burnt out. But luckily, when I went to the Bougie stall or booth, they were super enthusiastic, really passionate about their scents, and knew how to tell a story while you were smelling their perfume, so they could tell you what the inspiration was. They weren't just telling you the notes that you were smelling, but also kind of what they envisioned as they were trying to make this perfume. So that was really interesting. And Bougie as a brand, like all their perfumes are really a return back to storytelling in perfumery. And I think that that has sort of gone by the wayside with the, I guess, popularization of perfume. There's a lot of brands out there that are just selling you notes, and like this is an amber and this is a freshie, and this is what you wear when you want to smell like condensed milk, and this is what you wear when you want to smell like cotton candy. But they're giving you a story. Like Bougie is giving you a story. They're asking you to use your imagination. They're trying to transport you out of wherever you are so that you can go on a journey via perfume. I think that's kind of magical. I think that that is a skill set that is unique and is harder to find, harder to tap into. And I really appreciate the storytelling aspect of the brand, especially when I met them in person. So Pia especially, I think, is a gifted storyteller. She's just so enthusiastic when she tells her stories. I love that. And I listened to an interview with her and she talked about how she had been writing as a kid and had stories that were published. And so she kind of grew up with stories, and that really translates into this brand, into the perfume. And so it's not just about the notes, it's also about using your imagination and tapping into the story that's being told here. Gilded, of course, means gold, and this is a perfume that's very inspired by a golden light. So think about whatever that means to you. It is a perfume where you get kind of a vision of being in a space that's like transcendent. To me, it just felt like I was in the sky where people come together and everyone's kind of enclosed in this golden globe and of light. And that's what this feels like to me. There is a very prominent saffron note in this perfume, especially in the opening. And the saffron comes across as kind of spicy and herbal at the same time. So it's a little aromatic to my nose. And the first time I smelled it, so I got to smell all the scents at the Bougie booth, and Gilded blew me away right away. I loved it immediately. And I came home with a sample of Gilded and a sample of their new scent that they're launching this year, which is called Inferno. And that one is like a passion fruit kind of fresh scent. It's really spring-like and kind of balances spring flowers with some earthiness, I guess we'll say. And then Gilded blew me away because it is so golden and refreshing and unlike anything that I had ever smelled before. There's a really prominent saffron note in the opening. There's an herbalness about it, and it really reminded me of Ricola candies that I always have when I'm sick. Like when I have a sore throat or something, I grew up eating those candies, and there's like an herbal note in this, especially in the opening, especially when I smell it out of the atomizer, that is quite delicious and aromatic. And it's blended with a really prominent saffron. So saffron, of course, the most expensive spice in the world, because they're picking parts of a flower and gathering that and keeping it intact so that you can use the saffron in your desserts or your cooking or whatever. I know saffron's not super popular in Western cooking, but it's used a lot in Indian desserts and Persian desserts. So that's how I'm familiar with it. I always have saffron in my kitchen. It's never something that I have to go out and get. I always just have it as like a pantry staple because I know that I am going to use it in my cooking. So it opens with that saffron, and the saffron is balanced with something that's herbal, something that smells really kind of sweet. There is a sweetness to the saffron. It doesn't get too leathery, but there is a little bit of leather in here. And saffron is that spice that's golden. It tinges everything a beautiful golden color, kind of like the color of this perfume. You also get a ton of frankincense. So if you're a fan of frankincense perfumes, this is one to try because it is inspired by kind of that frankincense that you would get in a church, but it smells different than a churchy perfume like Avignon. And I smelled Avignon and reviewed it, I think last year maybe, or even the year before. And Avignon to me really smelled fresh and not really like going into a church as much. It was more like a fresh outside the church kind of scent. This one, there's no smokiness to the frankincense, which I really like. I don't always want a stereotypical frankincense perfume. I think that it's nice when brands can use frankincense and not make it too smoky. There is no smokiness in here. You just really do get the scent of the frankincense that goes along with the herbalness of the saffron, and it is really quite pretty. There is also a gold accord in here, and so sometimes I get something in this that's quite metallic and sometimes I don't. And I think it kind of depends on what the weather is. I know if I wear this in warmer weather, I don't get the metallic note. I think it dissipates really quickly with the heat. And then when I wear this in cooler weather, I do get something that's like a metal edge. So I can see what they're saying when they say that there's a gold accord, like something that's like shimmery and metallic when I smell this perfume. I really get a lot of like a golden freshness, an effervescence when I wear Gilded. It really is a perfume that makes me think of being surrounded by golden light, being cozy, being comforted. And then there's like a waxiness that's in here too that just reminds me of like wax candles, really, and like lots of wax candles in a church, and they're kind of dripping and the wax has accumulated on the candle and at the bottom, and that waxiness combined with the frankincense is quite beautiful and does make me think of kind of a transportive spirituality, not necessarily something that's religious, but just something where there's lots of people together. You're getting that sense of community. That's what Gilded makes me think of. There is a beauty in a shared experience, that beauty is kind of in that bottle as well, where you get that goldenness that comes from people and bodies and the wax and the incense where they're always together, and then the saffron. And for me, you know, I always have saffron, like I said, in Indian desserts. And so when there's lots of people together, we are all eating dessert. There's always going to be dessert, and the dessert is going to have some saffron, and I get that in Gilded as well. Saffron note is similar to the saffron that I've smelled in Rosendo Mateo number 4. There's a lot of saffron in that too. That saffron goes a little bit more bitter. This one is more sweet. You might also be familiar with Saffron Trou Blanc by L'Artisan Parfumeur. I still have that perfume in my collection, and that one is similar to this. I would say that this saffron is really strong. The saffron in here is very prominent. It's ever present. And this as a perfume, this is an eau de parfum concentration. It is a really strong perfume. It has good sillage, good presence. It projects when you first spray it. And really, it's a scent that I could wear 1 or 2 sprays, and that would be plenty for me to wear during the course of a day, especially if I was going to be in close quarters with people. I wouldn't want to wear too much of it because I think it would just be way too much for the other people. So it is a really, really strong perfume. You do have to like saffron to wear this, and I think you have to appreciate that you're going to get something that's really different from everything that's out there. The thing I forgot to mention about Pia and Nick is they have a company where they actually make perfume for other brands. That combined with both of their background working in the perfume industry means that they are both very aware of all the other perfumes that are out there. Not everything that's out there, but they're aware of what's out there in the market. And I think they intentionally created something that's very unique and not out there already. This doesn't smell like anything else I've smelled before, and I think that that was intentional. They launched this perfume last year in 2023. I think they launch things when they're ready to launch them. It seems like there wasn't a huge push to create a line of 10 perfumes or 15 perfumes. I think intentionally they created the scents that went with their candles, and so they've carried on from there. I think Gilded is still my favorite of the perfumes that they've launched so far that I've smelled. That's Gilded. As of right now, you can only purchase the scents off the Bougie website. And they do ship internationally. The caveat is that shipping internationally is pretty expensive. And when people found out that I had this perfume and they went to look it up and saw that shipping to Canada is $70, they asked me if I actually paid that shipping, and I did. So full disclosure, I did receive a sample of the perfume when I saw them at Exance, but then I bought this full bottle myself. So yes, I paid for it and I paid for shipping. I think it came to about $300. I don't really feel like that was too much, because if I'm willing to spend $300 on a Frederic Malle perfume or a Chanel perfume, I thought that Gilded was worth it as well. I think that sometimes when people look at artisanal and indie perfume and they see how much it costs, they feel like it's too much and they want it for cheap. But I think that when you're paying for someone that's making something by hand, you should expect to pay more. The same way that if you were buying a sweater from somewhere and you're paying retail for whatever that sweater costs, and then if you ask someone to knit you a sweater, the cost of their time and the cost of material is going to cost you more than whatever you would be paying at a store in the mall. So expect to pay a little bit more when you buy something that's made by hand, but also know that you're getting something that's very unique and made with a certain vision. And like I said, these people that made the perfume are not strangers to perfumery. They know what they're making, they know what they're doing, and Gilded is reflective of that. So that's Gilded. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.